Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Wigan Auditorium, to the Public Services Subcommittee meeting for Thursday, September 25th, 6:45 p.m. This is a brief discussion about the Cedar Grove Cemetery expansion. Invited to the meeting were the cemetery commissioners. Unfortunately, one was able to make it tonight, Celeste Sullivan. The other members of that commission are Faye Cahonan and Marty Goldsworthy. Also, due to a scheduling conflict that I likely created, Connor Morgan was unable to make it. I misstated the date that I originally gave him for October 8th. So he will not be here. Speaking on his behalf will be the mayor. Also present are the members of the committee, Councilor Gamache, Councilor Melville, Councilor Rosignol, and sitting in for Councilor Welton is Councilor McGinn, and we have Councilor Gould and Councilor Peach present. With that, Mayor, if you want to open the discussion, again, this is in regards to the expansion of Cedar Grove Cemetery.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening to you. Good evening, councilors. Hope everybody's doing well. It's nice to be with all of you. And I look at this as an exciting time for the cemetery. A little concerning because we are down to a small number of graves that are available. But it's our opportunity to expand and continue the important tradition of Cedar Grove Cemetery to our community and provide that necessary service for our residents. So we in the Cemetery Commission have been talking. I know some of you, or you know some of this, not all the information. We did have a Cemetery Commission meeting last week. Councilor Turco was there. Councilor Daigle attended as well, where we had some really strong discussions on a number of important topics that we have moving forward. And there's still some decisions to be made coming up. I thought there was a very good discussion on, like I said, a number of key points. And then there'll be some upcoming decisions that have to be made, hopefully in the next few weeks, because we want to try to move forward with the expansion plans to try to get some work done before winter hits. Give you a little bit of information in terms of where things currently stand. We did put out an RFP for an expansion in Section K, K1 and K2. That is an area that we think is available for an expansion. We looked at a number of different options, different plans, and we think the best plan moving forward would be to have 229 cemetery grave locations at that site. When I say that, that means 229. However, those would be double lots as well as additional space for cremations. So there'd be more than 229 available burials there, but that would be the expansion of 229 lots in that location. It's Section K, K1 and K2. We did put that RFP out for bids, and I'll speak to that in a moment, but just to take a step back, you will recall in this past spring in May, we allotted, City Council through Capital allotted $200,000 for the expansion. That we were able to combine with an earlier vote back in the spring of 2023 of $115,000 that we had for the cemetery expansion, and both those votes were unanimous. So we have $315,000 for the expansion. A little bit, there's been a few $1,000s taken off of that because of some testing that we did. But we also have, I believe, is $50,000 for columbariums, and I can certainly speak to that if there's questions about that. Well, I'll mention it. Columbariums are cremations that are now much more prevalent in cemeteries that allow for a different opportunity for burial at Cedar Grove or potentially at Cedar Grove in the future rather than the typical burial at Cedar Grove. So I can speak to that as well. We also have opportunities, we're hoping in the future, and there's going to have to be some testing done, but as you recall, when we purchased that significant acreage up behind Welch School, up behind Cedar Grove, the opportunity or the hope would be that we'd be able to do some expansion up in that area as well in the future. That directly abuts the Cedar Grove, and we think there could be some work there. There's some site issues that we'd have to work through and other stuff, but I think there's an opportunity there to expand as well in the future. But in terms of this expansion particularly, we did put the bid out. Unfortunately, we didn't get any bids, which was actually surprising because we did have a number of companies reach out and asked for information. I don't know if it was the time of the year or, you know, I never know in terms of that. I'm always surprised, or I shouldn't be surprised. You never know what's going to happen. But I was surprised at this one that we didn't get any bids. What we did do is continue it out until October 16th. We did get a couple of calls from new companies, and we think there's going to be a couple of other people interested as well. So we're hoping to get some bids in by October 16th so that we might be able to do some work prior to the winter. We are running low on graves right now, somewhere around 15 to 20, maybe give or take a couple in that range we have available. We are not doing pre-sales right now. We had a really good discussion at the meeting about pre-sales, and that's something that the Cemetery Commission will be taking up at the next meeting. I think there's a lot of merit to both arguments, quite frankly, one about pre-sales and having that available for our residents. I think that is important, but also making sure we have graves available when people who do pass away in the city of Peabody, that there's graves available, grave sites, and that they're not all taken up by pre-sales. So that's a discussion the Cemetery Commission is having, and I think that'll be coming up in the next meeting, that I think some decisions hopefully will be made. The other issue at the expansion is whether the graves would be headstones back to back, or if they would be in a typical setting, kind of like what we have now. There's reasons that have been stated by Connor to have them, the headstones potentially back to back. That allows for more maneuverability of the machines and equipment to tend the area, but it is a little different look than what's there now. So that's another important topic that'll be brought up, I think, in the next meeting. The good thing is that in terms of the RFP, whatever way ultimately we decide as a city to do back-to-back headstones, or in the format that's there now, that's a very simple addendum to the RFP, and that could be done at any time in the future. So we're hoping to get a lot of bids, hoping to get some good action for this work. We think it's an important project to move forward on, and again, hoping that we can maybe get some work done now to prepare for the winter. And we do have the funding ready to go, which is good. And I'm hoping, I was again a little surprised we didn't get some action with some bids on it, but I think we're going to get some now. Connor is out of the country. He would have been here. We had an excellent meeting. I want to thank Celeste for being here. She's brought up some good topics for discussion. I want to thank Faye Colhonen and Marty Goldsworthy as well. You know, the Cemetery Commission, there hasn't been much action over the years. Now it's coming now because we got to talk expansion and some other decisions. And this will just be the first expansion. We're hoping that there's going to be other expansion opportunities, as I mentioned, with that purchase that we did, we collectively did together years ago. The hope can be that we can do some further expansion with that site as well. So happy to answer any questions on this. I feel like the next couple of months will be important for the cemetery.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and if you don't mind, gentlemen, I'll get you 1 second. I just wanted to state that, and thank you for mentioning, Mayor, at the Cemetery Commission meeting, Council Daigle, myself, and school committee member Dunn were there. There was approximately maybe 15 to 20 residents, maybe 15 residents were at that meeting with various concerns. With that, Council Melville.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Mayor, the proposal, and I know it's just a proposal just to see about space, the back-to-back, that would only be for the new expanded areas, correct? Because I believe those other plots would have already been purchased and are already spoken for, correct? That area?
That's my understanding, that it's just proposed for this particular area. And the reasons he brought up were about just, again, equipment being able to attend to the area. Yeah. I think it's a fair point, but I also think it's a fair point that you know, we've always traditionally had it in certain rows. So I think that'll be determined by the Cemetery Commission in the meeting or two ahead. But that my understanding is that's just for this particular site. That would be the proposal that Connor brought forward.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of space around there for future expansion. If you really look at it, there is some ledge, but I'm up there, you know, 4 or 5 times a week going for a walk, and it's, you know, and the comment I would make is, when we do the flagging, we go to various cemeteries. Some of them are city cemeteries and some of them aren't. And you can tell the difference between a city cemetery and some of the other ones that we do the flag in. The city cemeteries are dramatically better, much better shape than some of the other locations that we go to when we do flag. And So that's a testament to some of the forward thinking. I just think when it comes to the cost of the expansion, especially with some of the work that would need to be done, I mean that's where you come into the fee structure for those plots. Yeah, and also if you walk it regularly, you can see that there's been changes in the past. I mean, the cemetery had a certain way that it was designed, and then you can clearly see in some points it was changed. So, but anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman Melville. Councilman McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the mayor. Mayor, could you just give a very brief description of the work in the RFP that we're going out for? What exactly are they doing? When we voted on the bond, this was described as Area K, I think, and I had a rough idea of where that was in there, but just if you could tell us exactly where that is and exactly what it is we need external help for. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. So, all right, let me see where the office is located. You know, when you come into the cemetery, to the left, you have the beautiful chapel that we're hoping to take on in the time ahead. The road leading up, it's kind of in that back area, kind of running up to where the golf course is, the section back there. There's K1, K2, and K3. We feel like K1 and K2, there's less rock and ledge, and that's why we feel that that could be a potential site for these burials, for these plots. K3 is a little bit more difficult. We'll be figuring out that future, we'll be taking, that future will be taken up in discussions in the future. So I think it's site work, removal of ledge, putting forth a foundation, and then other required work. I feel like the amount of money that we have budgeted for this should fit in very well with what we expect in terms of bids. But it's really just the site work to that K1, K2 area, which we're calling Section K, installing the foundation, and then the openings for the plots themselves and things. So that's kind of the work as best I can describe it.
So, through you, Mr. Chairman, it's cleared primarily, isn't it now? I mean, when you describe that area, when I've walked up in there, it's a pretty open area now.
It's open, so not in terms of tree removals or anything, that's not, right, it's open now. We think we have a sense of what's underneath in terms of rock and ledge, but there's going to have to be some work once it's all dug up. We've done some testing as best
So
we can.
that's basically what it comes down to.
That's what it comes down to, is that site work
Getting rocks
there.
out of the way, essentially.
Right. When I said site work, that's what I meant, kind of underneath. The clearing is already kind of open up.
The clearing was done some time ago.
Some time ago. This is the uncertainty of not knowing exactly. We think we have a sense of it, what's underneath there, but until you fully dig it up, you're never quite sure. So we expect some ledge, some rock that we'll have to remove out of there to open things up. But we feel that that's a site that can work for us.
But there's no movement any further towards the trail that's back there or towards the golf course. It's essentially within the limits of as they exist now in that open area. Is that correct?
Yes, I don't think we're looking to go further back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Rosengall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to the mayor. Once you get the RFP back, do you have a rough estimate of a timeline when the project would be completed? I mean, it sounds to me that you have a rough idea of what you think is underground. If that is the case, do you have a rough timeline of when that would be completed?
We're hoping to move on it pretty quickly, so we're hoping to get some bids so we can interview pretty quickly. Depending on the number of bids and how those interview goes, I mean, we're hoping to do some work in November, December before it really hits in January, which, depending on when winter really hits us, hopefully we can get some work done in November, December. Even if we can't do the full amount, if we can at least get some and then get it set up for the spring to complete the project. So we might not be able to do the full work for all 229 of the burial plots, but at least we can get some, so we make sure we can meet the needs of our residents.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Sullivan, for being here. Appreciate it. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the mayor. Mayor, can you summarize again that there's no more pre-sales? And are we obligated as a city to bury our residents?
So we're not obligated, certainly.
Okay.
We have always allowed for pre-sales for planning purposes and as a service to our community, and I think that's always been important. When we were running low now and not having the space availability, it was decided to kind of put a hold on pre-sales just to kind of focus on availability of plots when somebody passes. So I do think that there's got to be a way that we can achieve both means here. We do have space available at Oak Grove. That's the other cemetery that we have in our city, and that's on Pine Street, the corner of Pine and Johnson, kind of in the western part of the city. We have a number of graves there available, grave sites available there. But I know there's a lot of people that are attached to Cedar Grove, and that's usually the preferred spot. But we do have that available to certainly our residents. And there's a lot more sites there. And I don't mean to say there's hundreds there. There's not. But there are available sites at Oak Grove.
Okay. So currently you said there's 15 to 20 available?
Somewhere around that number.
And then when those are done, we don't have any room until we do the expansion?
We don't have any room until we do the expansion. We do have Oak Grove, but in terms of Cedar Grove, we would have to do this expansion. That's why we're hoping to be able to do it before the end, get some grave sites set up before the new year.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Council. Council Daigle.
Thank you, Chairman Turco. Thank you, Mayor, the Cemetery Commission, as well as Connor, who couldn't be here. You had a great meeting last week, and it was very interactive with the residents. And I trust the Cemetery Commission to make the right decision, but I will say I think pre-sales are important to residents. I walk that cemetery at least once a week. I've got grandparents there. We take a lot of pride in being there, and my family would take a lot of pride in knowing that our future, we have some kind of security and commitment there. And if we can take people's money now and use it to reinvest in future expansions, I think that will help us expedite the process. So that's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. And back to you, Council Gould.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, one quick question, Mr. Mayor. Is it up to the commission to decide whether to do pre-sales or not?
Yes, I think these important decisions coming up are Cemetery Commission decisions.
Thank you. And so with all that, I'll say this, just to reference back to the meeting. The concern, I did voice my concern that I also thought pre-sales were important. Pre-planning and burials is kind of the way to go these days. There was one woman there in particular that had no additional family and had a concern about not being able to pre-plan her funeral, as there was nobody else there to do it for her. I also made a point to some residents, and I'll say it here, we as a council don't typically make it our business to interfere with other boards, so I won't do that, but I will say that I am largely in favor of pre-sales for some of these lots, and the only thing that I would ask through you, Mayor, is that maybe we could set a bottom line once this new section is opened, where when we get to 100 lots, we stop pre-sale, but we could do pre-sale up to the 100 lot minimum, and then close pre-sales and make it, burial only for deaths. But I likely won't be at the next Cemetery Commission meeting. I'm not sure if you will, but hopefully they're listening. But I do suggest maybe we do a little of both and make everybody happy. The other issue that was brought up with the toe-to-toe burials and the back-to-back gravestones was the lack of the ability to engrave on the back of gravestones. If you did, you wouldn't be able to see it because the gravestones would now be back-to-back, which they're not. They don't exist that way currently. Also of concern was maintenance in between those. I think it was school committee member Dunn that brought up maintenance in between the gravestones. If they are back-to-back, it would be very difficult to weed whack or clean in between, debris in between those stones. Some residents were opposed to that. Again, I'm just stating what the residents' concerns were, not what we as a council would like to see. as far as the expansion of the cemetery itself, I'm told that Oak Grove has hundreds of available spaces if we needed to go, or could have availability up to hundreds of spaces if we needed to, at least offer pre-sales in that cemetery. And then the last thing I'll mention that Mr. Morgan was not in favor of letting people pick their location of their burial, which, if we do pre-sales, I don't see it as a hindrance to just allow somebody to pick a location. I know that when I went with my mother, she picked the exact location that she wanted. I'd be embarrassed to tell you the reason why she wanted to be buried there, so I won't. But also, my father chose his burial location in West Peabody, close to a fountain, and that's just where he wanted to be buried. So it's important to people. It's just, I think sometimes the importance of burial gets lost in the shuffle, and it's the first time in 10 years that I've gotten this in-depth and involved in a cemetery. It's interesting information, but stuff that unfortunately we all have to face. So with that, if there's no further questions.
And it's the first time in 14 years for me as well. Yeah, 22 actually. If I count.
My apologies. I did. We do have Celeste Sullivan here, and I did tell her that I was going to give her the courtesy to come up and speak to the council if she chose. So Celeste, the microphone's open to you if you would like to come up for a couple minutes. And again, Celeste is a member of the Cemetery Commission. Celeste, just state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Celeste Sullivan. I live at Trophin Lane in Peabody, and I'm on the Cemetery Commission. First of all, I am one of the people that is for pre-sale. I do think it's fair for us to use a certain percentage and leave the others available for as needed. But people are trying to plan and make arrangements. It's probably the worst time of your life to have to make an arrangement. So if we can do pre-sales for people, I mean, I understand it's not going to be 60%, 70%, but if we take a look at it and come up with a reasonable amount, I think that's fair. And then once we expand into other areas and other graves become available, then we can open that section back up. I know Section J only has a few graves available right now, doubles, so that's why there are no pre-sales right now, because we have to save those for people. As for the toe-to-toe configuration, there are a lot of issues with that. I understand that the superintendent has concerns about going in between the rows, but for 180 years, our cemetery has been configured the same way. People have been able to get in and out without a problem. The rows aren't going to be any smaller, so I don't see a problem there. The problem I do see is people will not be able to use both sides of the stone, and now they're being told, well, you'll have to buy an additional marker. I mean, that's more cost out of your pocket because the cemetery is restricting you from using both sides of your stone, and I don't think that's fair. As for cleaning in between them, I mean, if we go to Monumental, you can see what happens when you leave them, you don't clean in between them. A little weed turns into a big tree, turns into stones falling over and smashing. So for me personally, I would rather see a head-to-toe configuration. I mean, other than that, I do see a couple of things in the specs that need to be changed, and there are a couple of things missing. But I don't know, I'm looking forward to working on this project. I hope that we are going to keep an eye on this project. I didn't know there was another 115,000, so that makes it a little bit different. So I'm looking forward for this to move forward because we want to serve the people of our community. We want to make sure they have a place to go, and that's why I want to be on this commission. So thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great night.
Thank you very much, Celeste. I appreciate the information. Thank you, Mayor. If no further questions, I can take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Thank you,
Any
Council.
opposed? It's a vote. Meeting adjourned.